Hi, and welcome back to the Awaken Your Wise Woman podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Cush or Biz Cush, and I am so grateful that you're here, grateful that you are a listener, and I just appreciate you. If the podcast resonates with you and you know someone that you think might appreciate it as well, I would love for you to share it. The more sensitive women who gather together in this space or others, I think the better it is for the world. So share it, and I will be forever grateful. If you're interested in joining the Circle of Sacred Sensitivity, either the membership or just popping into one of our monthly circles, you can find out all about them on my website, elizabethcush.com, and you can find out about the membership as well as when the monthly circles are going to meet. I would love to have you there. It's a beautiful space with highly sensitive women. Each month, we gather for a little over an hour and share and talk and support and laugh. And it's a great, I think I've shared in other spaces, it's the highlight of my month. So I'd love to have you join us. This week on the podcast, we have got Annalise Oatman, who is a therapist, but also a creative soul, a sensitive soul. I felt like the moment we were on screen together, I could feel her sensitive energy flowing toward me and my sensitive energy meeting her there. And it was really lovely. Just a beautiful, very soft conversation, but also incredibly informative. And she shares some beautiful insights at the end of the conversation. But we also talk about psychedelics. So super cool, super interesting. So I will, without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Hi, Annalise, and welcome to the Awaken Your Wise Woman podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm
Oh,
really
it's,
feels
yeah,
good to be here.
yeah, it feels already, I feel like the energy feels really, I don't know, connecting already, and we really don't know each other, which is so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good vibe.
Yeah, yeah. So, for listeners who probably don't know who you are, can you share a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Sure. Yeah. I feel often I'm kind of wordsmithing the work I do because I'm kind of dual vocational in a way. I really think of myself as a multidisciplinary artist who
Mm,
I am constantly making visual art and I'm designing an album cover downstairs on this
cool.
huge canvas right now. And I've written books and have another book coming out soon, a lyric memoir. And I work with people one-on-one and in groups as a psychedelic somatic therapist.
Mm,
Mostly work with women who are highly sensitive or who are wanting to get to the root of their anxiety and overfunctioning or their depression and kind of flatness in life. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it all feels connected in my mind, actually, but I can say more about that at some point. That's the brief intro.
Yeah. Well, it does feel connected. I mean, in terms of what you're sharing about sort of the creative side of yourself, as well as that sort of helping you access the parts of you that need to really work closely with clients and maybe help them access those parts too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to think of all of it more and more as care of the soul.
Mm,
The creative work and the work with people.
mm-hmm, mm,
And it's starting to feel more and more like I'm serving a lineage that is older than um, the container of psychotherapy or, these kind of modern delineations between the clinical world and art and shamanism. And
Yeah.
um, I feel that I'm that I stand and work for care of the soul primarily. And uh,
Mm,
I'm starting down my Jungian training path now, and that actually feels like a perfect container and a perfect lineage for
yeah.
that Dharma.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jungian psychology has always interested me, although I've never trained in it, know a little bit about it. But what you were sharing about sort of the traditional psychotherapy model and how it just doesn't really fit. Well, maybe for some people it does. Maybe it helps them
Yeah.
stay in a very sort of linear path. But for
Yeah.
those of us who maybe are more creative and soul aligned, it doesn't always fit perfectly in terms of how to do it or how we're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. One of the first therapy modalities that I got trained in when I started my private practice was EMDR, which is
Mm,
eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which
right.
is a very evidence-based therapy modality for treating trauma,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm sure you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's wonderful. And I've seen people experience dramatic shifts and change with EMDR.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not dissing that modality at all. I just feel sometimes constrained within, like, if I'm just working as an EMDR therapist,
Mm-hmm.
it can feel kind of dry and clinical to me. So,
Yeah.
I could give an example of
Yeah. That'd be great.
kind of a little more what I mean. I recently started working with a Jungian psychoanalyst for the first time as part of the track that I'm on to become a Jungian analyst eventually myself. And I had this huge, elaborate dream 2 nights before I was supposed to meet with her, and
Mm.
I knew that it was a Jungian analysis initiation dream. And so I brought it to her, and she very wisely made room for it. She said, we don't have to do kind of a classic clinical intake. If you have a lot of material that feels present and alive right now, um, let's go there. And I trust whatever needs to come through is going to come through in the process as we move
Mm.
along. Um,
Mhm.
and so I shared this huge, multi-layered, rich, textured dream with her. And she said, okay, I kind of like, let's let this dream breathe. And I feel like you're giving me the map. Like this is the map of our work together. And I'm just thinking to myself, that's so much more interesting to me than let's just go down the intake form and speak in clinical language about, um,
Mhm.
you
Your
know,
symptoms and
there's
your,
this,
yeah, yeah. What are your
yeah,
goals and what are, yeah,
right. There's this whole other side to what's happening. And
yeah,
um,
yeah.
even the etymological root of the word psychotherapy is care of the soul. Um,
Mm,
so anyway, that's what's been on my mind a lot lately.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, interestingly, I was reading your book, Heal Your Witch Wound. I've been kind of not reading it front to back, but just kind of flipping through, finding the places that resonate. And so much of psychotherapy work, which you reference here in the book, is based on very old white dudes in 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 scientific clinical spaces trying to figure out how to treat our brain and our soul.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I know just for a lot of psychotherapists that can just be so draining and really not aligned with who they are.
yes.
Mhm.
it is draining
Yeah.
to to feel as though you have to keep putting this, it feels like a performance when when you
Yeah.
keep putting yourself into the purely clinical box over and over. It's like, okay, you want me to do EMDR to you. I'm going to do EMDR to you. You know what
Right,
I mean?
right, right. I do. I do.
Yeah. And yeah, it reminds me of the idea that there's two human beings in the room in the therapeutic relationship and in any healing relationship, um and that's really the foundation of the healing that can happen
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
space. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, if anyone out there listening is a therapist or is a healer of any variety, and I trust a lot of, sensitive people often have that vocation. Not always, they don't
Absolutely.
have to, but sometimes they can be gifted healers.
Yeah.
Um, just remembering not to abandon ourselves when we're in the room with a client.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean we have to make it about us and our stuff because that wouldn't be appropriate. That's not what it's about. But
Yeah.
just, yeah, our full humanity is in the room and
Yeah.
including everything we're sensitive to about what's happening in the process. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I think part of what we're experiencing when we're with the client, not necessarily like um, my stories, but what I'm feeling, what I'm noticing is important as a part of the process. Like I
mhm,
know sometimes energetically I'll like share like I'm sensing this, does this resonate with you? Like this is what's
mm,
coming up for me. Um
mm,
and sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't, but I
yeah.
think that it helps my clients know that I'm there right with them, but also that they're seen and felt and heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think people are accustomed to being listened to that deeply.
Hmm.
Someone else is listening with their whole body.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so much of the work you do, it sounds like, is somatic, which is bringing our body into the work. But
Yeah.
I'm also curious about the psychedelic piece. And I'm sure I read that on your website, but somehow I kind of forgot about that piece of things.
Oh yeah.
Um, would it be okay to talk a little bit about that part of your work? That feels like
Sure.
that would kind of align with the Jungian work as well, potentially.
Yeah, yeah. Sure. Let's go there.
Okay. So for listeners who might not really know what that means, psychedelic therapy or psychedelic assisted therapy, can you share a little bit about what that is?
Sure. Yeah. Um, Maybe the first thing I'll say is just that phrase, psychedelic assisted therapy, is so important. It's not therapy assisted psychedelics. And I
Good
think,
point.
yeah, again, it's a therapy is the primary healing factor, I believe, in therapy is the relationship and what's happening in the relational field.
Mm,
And psychedelics amplify that.
yeah.
And so the transferential field, which some of your listeners may know what that means, and for the listeners who don't, it's simply put, it's the relational field. It's kind of the way that the room feels in between two people who are interacting and what's coming up for each person based on their stuff and the stuff that's maybe getting activated by the other person. And then this kind
Right.
of almost unconscious bidirectional dance that's happening between these people and their energy. So that's the
Yeah.
relational field, and that gets amplified with psychedelics. So now um, you have a lot more to work with. So that's the first thing I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So what is psychedelic assisted therapy? It's therapy that brings in psychedelics as a co-therapist
Yeah.
to create a new kind of experience, ideally with the therapist there in the
Mm.
room, um, wherein lots of material is catalyzed and comes up, and the person's innate healing intelligence is activated. So
Hmm.
it's for lack of a better way to say it, their nervous system can get to work on kind of doing what it needs to do to loosen up old energies and integrate them. This is how I think of it. Uh,
Hmm.
but the most important thing that happens in psychedelic assisted therapy is the integration,
Yeah.
because to use somatic experiencing language to talk about it, we in somatic experiencing, we always think of the nervous system as kind of going through natural expansions and contractions all the time. And
Hmm.
when you find yourself in a calm, resourced, settled, grounded state, it's like a subtle expansion, that's easy for your nervous system to hold and that's familiar. And then if you go through a moment of stress or tension, it goes into a little, ugh. And then, if your nervous system is functioning the way we, want it to be functioning, it's going to
Hmm.
come back organically into expansion, over the course of the day. So there's like a gentle expansion and contraction that happens with the nervous system. With psychedelics, your nervous system goes whoop into a huge expansion.
Mm.
And then sometimes there's a big contraction that happens after that. And it's really important to keep returning with the therapist to, um, in a manner of speaking, the medicine that was received in that
Mm.
huge
Expansion.
expansion.
Hmm.
And how can we actually weave that into your everyday life? Because otherwise, it's going to be this big expansion that happened one time, and then you kind of contracted and went back to your normal nervous system state and kept going as usual. And now that's just something that happened at some point that you kind of remember. The
Yeah.
really important work is the weaving with the therapist of the medicine that was received into
Yeah.
the way you're living now.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see how almost like a dream, right? Like you could just keep moving on and then eventually sort of forget about it. And,
Yeah.
you might read about it in your journal and be like, oh, yeah, I had that weird dream.
Yeah.
Versus like, can I really integrate this into who I am and how I feel about myself, but also just, yeah, yeah, into my life in a more uh, intentional way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've witnessed, or whatever, not witnessed, but watched, whatever. I've seen a demonstration of a client doing psychedelic assisted therapy with a internal family systems or IFS therapist, and just the parts that they were able to access and the um,
Mm.
yeah, just how quickly the defenses can be lowered enough to really access some pretty intense, but also beautiful, sort of relational material within.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's things that
Yeah.
might take years to get to,
Yeah.
um, in another context can just
Hmm.
be right there.
Yeah. 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 Ah, very
Mm.
cool.
Yeah.
So for you, I mean, I'm imagining that you have been a creative soul most of your life. I don't know that for real, but it feels like that's probably true.
Oh, yeah, I would say so.
And so, what drew you to being a therapist, and how has your sort of sensitive nature formed the work that you do?
Mm. Thank you for that question. Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? Um, what drew me to be a therapist? Okay, let me see what is going to be the right semi-condensed but enough detail version um,
Mm,
of the story. So
yeah.
I studied philosophy in Ireland at Trinity College
Oh,
in
wow.
Dublin.
Yeah.
And then I came back home to California and went through this weird kind of depressed phase where I had no idea what I was supposed to do with that.
Hmm.
And then I had a strange kind of hypnagogic mystical experience just as I was waking up one morning.
Wow.
And I can say more about that if you're interested or you think your listeners might be interested.
Sure.
Um,
Why
okay,
not?
so
Let's go there.
I've decided recently I'm going to be more open about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I saw some kind of being of light in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Um, it, and it was an extremely high vibrational light. And I I hesitate to put any label on what I experienced or what kind of being or entity that was because I like to let these kinds of transpersonal experiences retain their mystery and
Mm,
breathe, as it were. Um,
hmm.
but anyway, I felt connected with this being. I felt the being move towards me and place hands on my head, and
Wow.
tell me not to be afraid. And I woke up and I went to the metaphysical section of the local bookstore to understand what I had experienced. And
Sure.
um, and I found the work of Doreen Virtue. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but at the
Mm-mm.
time, she was a psychologist in private practice who wrote books about angels.
Okay.
And I think she's sort of switched tracks and kind of changed her trajectory in more recent years, but that's
Hmm.
who she was at the time. And
Mm.
I picked up some of her books. She'd written a book about Mary, and I felt like somehow maybe it was Mary I had interacted with, but I don't know.
Mm. Hmm.
And read her bio on the back of the book, and it said she's a psychologist in private practice who writes books about angels. And I just thought, okay, I can get behind that life. I'm going to figure out the fastest way to have that life.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, thanks. I was like, all right, I want to be in private practice. I want to be writing books. And my aunt, the woman my uncle had married, was a licensed clinical social worker. So she said,
Mm.
that's a really good track. You should do that. So
Yeah.
that's what I did. Um, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't add into the story the additional layer of reading a bunch of my dad's old books when I moved back home from college, not knowing what I should do with my life. My dad's a baby boomer, kind of was a hippie, dropped out in I think 1967 or 68.
Mm.
And took to the streets and did all of that, protesting the war and protesting the students who were shot in Ohio. And
Yeah. Yeah. All the civil rights stuff, all the,
oh
yeah. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, and he got really into Buddhism and Alan Watts and all of that in those days.
Mm.
They had all these great old books, including Be Here Now by Ram Dass and
Mm.
Suzuki Roshi, and there was just a lot of good stuff in there. So I was reading his old spiritual books, and I noticed that the common thread between all of these lineages and the messages of all of these teachers seemed to be service and compassion
Mm.
as the most important expression of spirituality.
Yeah. Mm.
And and I just thought, okay, I want to either be an artist or live a life of service.
Mm.
Ideally, maybe find a way to do both. And And I just thought, okay, like following that Doreen Virtue path, that's a life of service. That there's also artistry in there because I'm creating, constantly creating
Yeah.
offerings for people and books. And
Yeah.
um, so that's how I got here. I could say more about how my sensitive nervous system lended itself and lends itself to this path. But if you'd like, I'll follow your
Yeah.
lead on that.
Well, and knowing, I'm pretty sure some of the listeners are therapists or helpers, healers, in some, in some capacity. And for a sensitive being, that can be taxing on our nervous system, right? Like
Yeah.
it can, if we're not resourced, right, we can end up just giving of ourselves again and again, which I think as highly sensitive people, we tend to do anyway, just to
Yeah.
be there for others. And yeah, I'm curious how that dynamic, how you have been able to continue the work, but also still stay grounded and soulful and yourself.
Mm, it's a really good question. Um, I I like the idea that self-regulation is not one little practice that we engage in the moment that we're dysregulated, but it's a lifestyle. It's the whole infrastructure that we have supporting us. Like just very basically making sure that I'm getting enough sleep. I
Yes.
can be very precious about my sleep. Making
Mm,
sure I'm eating enough and eating, eating well if I can. And that I have a morning ritual that involves feeling connected to something bigger and fully aligned and aligned with appreciation and the flow of well-being, and that I protect that as a very sacred time.
mm,
I need to have those morning practices so that I enter the day feeling really bubbled um, by self-love, self-compassion, just self-care.
yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yoga and so I'd make sure I have all those good practices in the morning, um,
Mm,
and
yeah.
just try to be aware of what my limits are and honor those. And I don't always do it perfectly because life
Yeah.
is constantly changing. My bandwidth is constantly changing based on other
Yeah.
things that are happening in my life. And
Yeah.
I'm definitely having one of those moments now where I think I need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Just because without getting into it, there's a lot going on in my personal life right now
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
need to keep reassessing and keep trusting the information that I'm getting from my body about how things are feeling to me.
I think that's so important. Just the idea that it's not this quick fix. This is an ongoing exercise, practice, whatever, like to just
Yeah.
be checking in with ourselves. What's working today? Maybe it worked yesterday, and maybe I need to do something different today or tomorrow, or yeah, and trusting that your body will tell you if it's not working and if it's working, right?
Yes. Yes. That's been one of the gifts of doing this work too, is that I trust my body like
Mm,
nothing else. In
mm,
way, it's almost like once you start doing this work, it's boot camp for learning how accurate your body is.
yeah.
When you're assessing when you're reading the energy of a situation, you're assessing your capacity for something.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's a gift.
It really is. But I think sometimes for highly sensitive women who um, maybe were told, too emotional, too feeling, too sensitive, that those bodily sensations had to be either repressed or ignored or pushed aside.
Yeah.
And sort of the returning to trusting your body, trusting your intuition, trusting that your body is going to tell you whether it's a yes or a no, or I am agreeing or I'm not agreeing.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a question in there for you. If you were working with clients in a situation like that, where maybe they had become disconnected from their bodies, how
Mm.
do you help them then move into a more trusting, intuitive place?
Mm. I think it's always different. Some people are so disconnected from their body because there's so much unsafety in
Yeah.
their body that it can be really
Yeah.
slow work to slowly ease them in.
Hmm.
Um, I notice if someone like that is having a good day and they're feeling grateful or they're noticing the things that are going well, then I'll kind of see that as a golden opportunity to do some kind of somatic resourcing because
Hmm.
it can be a lot easier to go into the body if the moment is feeling resourced and good.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so just kind of, all right, how do you know you're feeling grateful? Is that in your belly? Is it in your chest? Does it feel like a warmth or a lightness? And so
Yeah.
that helps people like that learn more safety in their body.
Yeah.
And if they're actively dissociated or there's some activation present, I kind of work the periphery by um, kind of just noticing what their hands are doing or just reflecting, I notice your hands are doing this, or
Mm.
I notice your foot is tapping, just kind of letting
Yeah.
reflecting it, but without challenging them to go right into the heart of some kind of central activation.
Yeah.
Um, And last thing I'll say briefly is if someone's really checking out of their body, sometimes I feel like I'm checking out too, just because,
Yeah.
again, in the relational field, in
Yes. That
these,
sort of mirroring of experience. Yeah.
yeah, I start to feel it too. I start to feel their dissociation, and I might even kind of go, and then oh, what, oh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that clues me that this person is probably a little dissociated. They're probably checking out. And I might even reflect, I try to be very human with my clients, and sometimes I'll say to them, you know what, I totally just lost my train of thought. I'm kind of checking out right now. And sometimes when I say that, they'll be like, I'm checking out too. And then just they
Yeah.
notice that they're dissociated, and then we can do something with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I could
Well,
keep
that,
talking about it.
yeah, but that very humaning, like this is happening for me, maybe I'm curious what's happening for you, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I yeah, I would say that really resonates for me in terms of just noticing, like sometimes I will just have a thought, I don't know, it can be even just a word when the client is describing or talking or whatever. And I'm like, well, the word that's coming up for me, whatever it might be, um, uh, like disconnected or abandoned or something. And
Mm.
sometimes it can hit deeply, like that, like that's the experience for them. But it's taken
Mm.
me a long time to really trust that, like, whatever it is I'm noticing is okay to bring into the work too. I mean, as a
Mhm.
therapist, I think it does take time to really trust your own stuff
Yes.
that's showing up, that's coming in.
Yeah. And learning how to discern, how to
Yeah.
parse out, oh, this is my stuff, or oh, this is something I'm resonating with in the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. And you know, one thing I've noticed is I don't know if you have anything like this, but if I feel a tingling on my crown right at the top of
Mm.
my head, that almost always means that this person is experiencing anger.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow.
It's a
I'll have to
it's
pay
a
attention to
an
that.
immediate tell. I mean, for me, it is. That's what my nervous system does when I'm in the presence of anger. And,
Yeah,
maybe it's something I learned. Maybe my nervous system became hyper attuned to the presence of anger because it
sure.
helped me survive in some way, maybe
Hmm.
my childhood. Um,
Yeah, 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 sure. Yeah, a lot of what we do is, or our healing is around that, right? What we've survived from childhood. But yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just this little prickle. Something kind of stands at attention at the top of my head. And I'm like, oh,
Interesting.
oh, there's anger here. And it's so far, it's never been wrong.
Wow. You know what makes me think of as well, I have a 16-year-old dachshund who is uh not very somatically resourced. He's very anxious, not very trusting, except with us. But being around other dogs or people, when he really doesn't trust them, all his little hairs on his back just go whoop
Yes.
straight up.
Yes, it feels like some hairs just stood up on the top of my head. Yep,
Mm,
exactly.
yeah,
Energetically or in some way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very primal experience, probably for us, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like some part of me knows this person's defenses are up.
Mm,
Something got really triggered here,
yeah, yeah,
even before it seems apparent
yeah. That's not, yeah, yeah,
other
yeah.
ways.
Not conscious necessarily for them either.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
So if there were um, a piece of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience, with the listeners around sensitivity, living life, what would that be?
Mm. Oh, I feel really inspired today to tell them that they are worthy of their peace
Mm,
because I know really sensitive people, like you said, often are the ones who are intrinsically motivated to tend and serve everyone. And sometimes other people, kind of cop onto that and pile on even more.
absolutely.
And then our stuff comes up around, oh, well, I should be a good person, or what will people think about me if I actually tell them no, or if I tell them this isn't a good fit, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell your listeners that they're worthy of the peace that they will experience when they honor what they know is or is not right for them.
Mm, I love that so much.
Yeah, and that there's love and there's medicine in the boundary too, because we're not
Yeah.
helping anyone by holding their hand through everything or,
Yeah.
letting them think that their behavior is okay if it's not okay.
Yeah. 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 Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Annalise. I really just so appreciate your taking the time to come and share with us about your work, but just as a sensitive soul and just sharing, yeah, sharing you here in the circle.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Mm, thank you. Well, I just continued to feel very connected to Annalise throughout the conversation. Her sort of soft nature really flowed through, and it was just a very easy conversation to get involved with and to continue. And I hope that some of that information was new to you or that you learned something from it because um, psychedelics always interest me. And it was interesting. I found it very interesting to hear her perspective on that and doing the therapy. I haven't experienced it or done it myself. I've learned a lot about it. So hearing her firsthand experience was really beautiful. But also just honoring our sensitivity as healers, helpers, creatives, and the way she supports her clients, but also supports herself, I thought was really lovely. So I'm glad you hung out there with me through the end of the conversation. Again, if you're interested in joining us in the circle, us, the rest of us sensitive women, all of us sensitive women in the circle, head out to my website, elizabethcush.com. Find out more about when the next circle is gathering, and you can find out more about the membership. I hope you'll meet us there. Take care of your sensitive souls. I look forward to connecting with you here on the podcast next time.